Raise your voice and high. Sing of your courage, your pride. Sing it loud and strong. Feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrating song as we rush to heights where we belong. Sound of victory roll. Oh, Caracol, hele, bravo. Oh, for your sing, Caracol. Leve, bravo. Hele, bravo, yes, bravo. Naki, your jump, Caracol. Leve, bravo. To join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your courage, your pride. Sing it loud and strong, your hearts beat as one. Celebrating song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound of victory drum for Caracom. So great and diversity, our ethnicity, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We find the way we love, we dance and we play, but we relate to each other, blessed in your ways. Today as a people united, firm and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon, the future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high, sing of your courage, your pride.
Welcome, welcome, brothers, welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, we never really have a subject matter on these programs, but we have some personal challenges. So we were unable to be on the radio station that we normally on, Star FM. So we're doing it from Facebook and sharing it. And we encourage you to share the program. We always prefer when we can interact with people and take calls and just listen to people express themselves. We have over 30 radio stations in Grenada, and people should have an opportunity to express their views and opinion. We always encourage people that opinions are not facts, but you have a right to express your opinion. On Target expresses his opinion on almost any subject matter that we are comfortable with, particularly politics. But opinion are not facts. So if we get new information, we change in our opinion. If you ask us about a particular politician, once we know the politician, we're giving you our opinion. It doesn't matter whether NDC, NNP, TGM, or we're going to express our opinion on it. And if we have new information and we believe we were way out or we were wrong, we change the opinion. We have to encourage our people to hold discussions. All of us could win. We may not come out of the agreement laughing, but at least we could come out of the agreement not crying. We don't have to rub our opponent's face in the dust. We could win and then stretch our hands and say, come on, man, come on. Next time, better luck next time. You're going to win next time. Give him my help. We have too much of families in Grenada in trouble. They're fighting. What they're fighting for, they don't know. I know you will not believe me. So the next time you meet somebody that have conflicts with their family, ask them for 2 reasons why they have conflict with their family. They're taking a whole page. They're doing as if they're doing a thesis, and listen to them. After about 10, 15 minutes, they themselves can't remember what they're fighting for. More often than not, the family members would not have done, not to say they damaged you or you had issues in court or they serve false witness against you. It may be easy, you use the soap. You know, you go in the bathroom and you see soap. Particularly some men, they cannot chew pool. It's not to say they don't have money, but they don't know where the shop is to buy soap, to buy toothpaste, to buy cream. But it's easy for them to use their sister toothpaste or cream. They know where the shop is to buy rum, to buy their clothes. And some men don't such a rum. They just go straight into the tongue and buy what they want. And then we have conflicts in the home. Who should wash the wares? Who should cook the food? So I have problem with him, so no food for him. So he throw the pot. Man come home, wife and the neighbors watching TV. She don't cook food, he chop the television. One blade, he chop the television and he go. Jump in the vehicle and he go and he buy a TV. So by the time the wife making noise and bawling, he come back with a better television, put it back in the house. He can't afford to lose his wife, but he chop the TV. We have to encourage our people to have communication. You have to be ingrained in the culture that we must discuss issues. We have to complement the OECS code. They have introduced mediation. And I think I heard one of the lawyers say about 60% of the cases that go to mediation solve. A lot of them is over land, is over issue, minor little conflicts. Sometimes this one hit this one. So they bring them, both of them around the table, sometimes with their lawyers to guide them on legal issues, make them watch one another. Some cry, some others cry, sometimes everybody cry, and then they come up with a workable and amicable solution. Family members have to have discussion. It makes no sense the man believes he is the big bad wolf. It makes no sense. A man thinks he is the big bad wolf, and what I say goes. Never in history what a man say goes. Because women listen to the men, they listen very attentively, and then they make you realize they're not bothering with you. So we need to have communication in homes, and children are supposed to see the exchanges. And nothing is wrong in having strong discussion, but we must have finality where we have a solution. We don't have to fight. A country with strong families makes a strong country. We have too much of young men on the street. They look as if they are owner. A girl see a man going on the road. She said, you look at somebody at the owner. Come let me fix you up. Well, she didn't looking bad, so he let her fix him up. She said, you eat already for the day and you're drinking rum this early morning. Go and buy something in the shop. So she go with him. And the man went broke, you know. So he buy lunch and they eat and they talk. Next thing you hear, she take the man and go. She take him from a next woman. Yeah. And I agree with her. Sometimes people have partners and they don't recognize what they have. They're quarreling all day. And they're not discussing issue and come up with a solution. Today in Grenada, the government has introduced a bill in Parliament for its first reading. The bill is about weed, marijuana, cannabis. From the time the government introduced the bill, I find a lot of people quiet in Grenada. I'm not hearing the weed lawyer. Usually they're jumping up all the time. I'm not hearing the weed lawyer. Get silent. The Rastafarians are not really hearing them. Some of them do as if weed legal already. They want to smoke it in, and the major point, they want to smoke the weed in front of the police station. I just tell my partner John God, when they legalize weed, the police will be smoking weed. All he want power to do is to go and smoke the weed in front of the police station. I say you don't even having time to smoke the weed in the police station. Some big spliffs you see. You see, of the 30 countries in the world that consume the most amount of weed, Grenada is not part of it. Grenada is not part of the 30 countries that consume the most part of it. I'll only name those in the Caribbean. Bermuda, 22 square miles, Bermuda is 22 square miles. You might surprise, Bermudans consume more weed than Barbados, than St. Lucia, than Jamaica. Grenada is not involved with it. So we could safely say, in terms of weed consumption, we are not excessive. But we have some people consuming weed. And weed, the via, the method, the means by which they consume weed is smoking weed. Now and then they cook a little weed and rice and they sleep for 2 days because they eat much, they eat plenty. Sometimes they make a fudge and the effect on them, they don't like it. But the majority of people who consume weed in Grenada seems to be more in moderation. I know a big weed man. Maurice Bishop locked him up. He was in jail in Hopeville. He said he just eats a little weed, sometimes twice a week, 3 times a week, based upon how he feels. But he don't smoke weed because he don't trust what they're putting in this weed. And he had some weed in his hand in a plastic. Somebody tell him, let it touch it. He said, eating it. You can't touch me weed. You go contaminate it. And he only consume weed from brothers that grow it without chemicals. You see, our people needs to know that. We need to know that. If you decide to consume weed, what you consuming? Formaldehyde. Because things are preserved. It appears that the government introduced the bill, and as I said before, the government is considered as conservative. All the political parties in Grenada is the same thing, no matter what people write. All of them is the same thing. Good people in politics. Some of them have no behavior, they can unite. And another political party seems to have it well locked down, they united. So it's the same thing, good people. None of them passing you on the road, they're giving you a ride. Even though you have a green jersey or a yellow jersey, they're picking you up still. But the reality of the day is we must have discussion. And I am disappointed. Why? I'm not angry with the Rastaman. I'm sorry for the Rastaman. I am sorry for the Rastaman. I'm dissatisfied with the University of the West Indies. They're supposed to lead us and guide us on this weed thing. The medical doctors, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, we're supposed to hear their voice. The Bar Association, the lawyers, not corporate lawyers. Corporate lawyers don't meddle with that. Them stay in our office and make money. They don't have much sympathy. They don't empathize. They don't have much compassion. The nature of the job doesn't provide for them. Them is about win and lose. A criminal lawyer, people just cry on their shoulder. They just see big criminals crying tears and begging. Their heart sometimes does break. We're supposed to have discussion on the bill so Grenada gets the best bill as possible. You can decriminalize it for medical purposes. You can legalize it. You could make it illegal but ignore it. Some countries, weed is illegal, but nobody's studying it. It's illegal to share a currency with the queen face on it. That is illegal, but nobody bothering with you if you do that. But we must have discussion on it. It is particularly significant for the Rastafarians, and that's why I'm sorry for them, because they were the ones from the time Marcus Garvey in 1920. Marcus Garvey started this Back to Africa movement, and he formed a number of organizations. And Marcus Garvey teachings, his philosophy, we must look to Africa for our God. We want a black God. So he said we must look to Africa for our God. So then we had the crowning of Rastafari in 1930. And that is why you have the Emperor Haile Selassie. And the Rasta religion starts in Jamaica after the crowning of Haile Selassie. That is why Rasta say Haile Selassie is the prophet. It's because of the philosophy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, that was born in 1887 in Jamaica. And he was on a crusade back to Africa, back to Africa. The Jews very early recognized him, because you know the Zionist movement, back to Israel, back to Israel. So they immediately hatch on Marcus Garvey teachings, his philosophy, back to Africa. And absolutely nothing is wrong with that. In politics, there is no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only alliances and associations, opportunities. So the Rasta movement starts. A religion starts in Jamaica, and the whole emphasis is to empower the black man. But then you have weed. Say when you smoke weed, you have your meditations and etc. and etc. I don't know where they went wrong. I don't agree with the Rastafarian movements for a number of reasons. Because they went back, we were going back to Africa, but they went back to the cave, went back to the jungle. They don't want to deal with Babylon, because Western society was seen as the oppressor. So they call them Babylon. So the whole movement was back to Africa and empowerment of the black man. Black man must have their own religion. Can they say Papa got white? So we must have a religion. And the black man started to smoke weed for meditation or heights or whatever. Sorry for Rasta. Rasta see a lot of trouble under Babylon people. They cost the police, Babylon boy. The police beating him up. When the police go to the woods and they hold some Rasta, remember Rasta ain't dealing with money. You know? Rasta said it, and don't mistake it for bald-head Rasta. Them Rasta in the 50s, 30s, 40s, they want nothing to do with Babylon system. They did not, the biggest blunder, the biggest crime that Rasta committed was not to educate the children. A lot of them didn't vaccinate the children because Babylon vaccine. But they did not educate the children. They went in the woods. They went in the heights. They started with herbs. Some do it in vine. Well, if you say pork self, Rasta treating you as Muslims. You know, Muslims don't like pork. And Jews don't like pork. And Hindu don't like cow. So sometimes in India, Muslim put in pig near Hindu. And Hindu put in pig near Muslim. and Muslim pushing cow, and they're making all kind of issue. It seems as though our people want an issue to have conflict with. Let's go back to Rasta. Rasta sings song. They, more than anybody else, popularize marijuana. All the reggae was marijuana. Legalize it. Rasta go in jail. They beat up Rasta. Rasta children did not get an education. So now that weed is about to legalize, Rasta cannot benefit from it. Rasta still jumping up and say legalize it. Well, it's only a matter of time. A number of countries in the world are in different stages of legalization. Some for recreational purpose, some for medicinal purpose, some even provide how much grams? 20 grams, 10 grams. In some countries, you can grow 20 trees for consumption, personal consumption, recreational purpose, smoke for religious belief, and for medicinal purpose. Remember, we don't have pharmaceutical companies in the Caribbean. Well, I don't think we don't have, let me put it safe. We don't have any Windward Islands. I don't know if you have in Trinidad. So if you legalize weed for medicinal purpose, who is going to make the medicine? About 62, well, let me be a little bit more correct. A high percentage of drugs in the world is fake. A high percentage of drugs in the world is fake drugs, particularly some of the aphrodisiac drugs. Men paying a lot of money for the pills. Most of these pills that they're getting is fake, is contraband pills. The drug industry is pregnant with corruption and banditry. People making false drugs and sell. They're giving you ADT, placebo. They know you wouldn't kill you, but you can't save your life. Now we are going to legalize weed. My biggest question, who is going to benefit? Who is going to benefit? Who is helping Rasta to benefit? Babylon tried to take advantage on Rasta. We have Jamaica, Canada, and St. Vincent has moved closer to legalization. They don't legalize it yet, they move closer. They provide a certain amounts, they decriminalize it, and they are investing in it for medicinal purposes. So Grenada coming after. So we need to get the best deal by making comparisons with what's going on in Canada. In Canada, you even have overproduction and some companies bossing. Already. St. Vincent export weed, and who is exporting weed in St. Vincent? Is it Vincentian or is it Canadian and Chinese company? Now we need discussion on it. The government has no choice. The government have to pass a bill and provide some level of liberalism in the weed industry. Because remember, the federal government in the United States of America don't legalize weed. There are some states in America that legalize it, that decriminalize it, and they have this special license, but the federal government don't do it yet. So you have to know which state you could go and smoke with it. I'm not hearing the medical doctors. I'm not hearing the medical doctors. They shut them out. Deep down in my mind, I don't believe if you're smoking 6 to 9 spliffs a day, it is beneficial to you. I find you drunk holy. or you high holy. In my observation in the short time on earth, I see men smoke weed in a calabash. I see little children smoke weed. I'm aware of people who eat weed and rice and they sleep for 2 days. I'm aware of women who consume weed by the forge method and zombie take them. They don't know what happened after. So obviously, if the main medium by which we consume weed, the via by which we consume weed in Grenada is inhalation, we smoking it. Is it good? I've been hearing for years that smoking, if you're a hard smoker, there's a greater possibility that you come down with cancer of the lungs, the throat, the sinuses, the stomach, and the lungs, etc. So, is it good? You see, that is when the voices should be speaking in Grenada. You can behave as if you want to command respect, you want people to respect you. But when we have critical crisis, you shut in your mouth. I have difficulties with it. I have not done any research in weed. You know, based from my observation, what I have seen, I've spoken to a number of individuals and asked how much weed you smoke in a day. One guy said to me, it depends on how much money I have. A cookman said that to me too. But he said I spoke about 6 to 9 spliff a day. But I have not known him to be a very active person. He hardly, I don't know if he work. He might try in the land and do a little thing in the kitchen garden. I normally pass him in the land and you see nothing impressive. He's not a commercial farmer. I notice his children, you know, they're looking drowsy too. They have their locks on their head and their eye looking red. But I notice they're not doing well in school. So I don't know if it's too much weed or if the sense is too strong. But we need voices to say, let us recommend how much weed somebody should smoke in one day. A woman lived for 100 years. She was from Carriacou. And they was interviewing her. Why she lived so long? She said, well, she worked hard, she prays to God, and she just take one rum before meals. She son say she taking one before and one after. But if she live 100 years, it doesn't matter what she did, he worked for. But if you're smoking a calabash of weed, in my sojourn on this earth, I know of no one who is a heavy smoker that is very productive. It is a foregone conclusion that weed would be some level of decriminalization, some level of easing it up for medicinal purpose and for recreational purpose going to take place. They might even give us some opportunity to grow some trees. I want to grow 10 trees for myself. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it yet because I don't smoke weed now. I've taken a little draw long, but I always thought rum nicer because weed normally make you quiet. And if I was smoking weed, I would not have been talking to you here today. Or are they quiet? Maybe taking a look at music and rocking. Babylon, Babylon bad. Mash down Babylon. And you're making a look at. What is going to happen to us? We see what is going on in St. Vincent in terms of who benefits from legalization. And it's a fact that legalization is only a matter of time, maybe 2-3 years. That is where the world is going. But the Rastafarian, I wish that a lawyer that like weed could have hold an audience with some of the Rastafarian brothers and give them some guidance to form a cooperative and seek assistance from the government. And I think the government would assist them to form a little cooperation to see if they could make money from it. They may not have a problem for land because Grenada have the most land owners in the whole region. We have 100,000 people and we have about 40-something thousand landowners. So we could make some, so they could make some money from it. Because it was the Rastaman that go in jail. It was the Rastaman child that was not educated. It was the Rastaman that lobbied extensively and for years to popularize weed and to beg for it to be legalized. So it'll be sad and unfortunate now if you can make money from it. I've been looking at the newspaper. I don't see none of we psychologists, we social scientists, none of them writing nothing about weed. I've not seen no articles from the university writers about the positive, the benefits of weed. If we legalize weed today, I have 10 acres of land. Could I cut it down and plant weed? Because I have trouble with cocoa. I'm tired. Independence Week, they buy cocoa. So they know they couldn't buy on Monday. They buy Tuesday and Wednesday. So you couldn't get workers on Monday because it's Independence Week. Some people could get if you could do it yourself. But if you depend on workers, they did not buy the week before. And they don't buy the week after. And that is cocoa season. Well, I understand they buy this week. Well, this morning I heard. So I didn't pick yesterday. Would weed come like cocoa? Would weed come like cocoa? Would weed come like nutmeg? Or would weed be like saucer? If weed come like saucer, it's good. But if it is legalized all over the world, and big business, people with money is investing in it, would they come in Grenada and invest? We have Kenco in Grenada, a very good, interesting, productive company. They seem to be extremely compatible. I like the way they approach, quiet. They involve Grenadians at all times. And from the outside looking on, it appears is a blessing in disguise. People criticize them mercilessly. They say slavery. They employ maybe about 125, I don't know, 150 people permanently. And they start to make rum. And they're selling the rum in Europe. Somebody told me they sold about 18 to 20,000 bottles of rum already as trials. And they were very satisfied with it. And they came in Grenada and was able to get 300 acres of land that they leased from farmers. So that is good because the lands was abandoned there, etc. What restrictions, if we legalize, remember, if you legalize, how could you stop a company from coming in Grenada and investing with? The company have land, but the company could work with farmers that have land and put them as a front and invest in it. What restrictions you could make? You cannot make arbitrary laws. We have CARICOM. We have rules. So you can't just jump up and make laws. You can't tell me what to plant in my land because Grenada have democracy. We have freedom of choice. Is our medical personnel concerned? Do they have any contributions to make in it? Does religious people I know some religious people glad because every day they're preaching God gonna come. So if they see plenty Grenadians smoke weed and walking around the place as if them is zombie, they go say, you see, God gonna come. God gonna come. Whole day they preaching about 666, mark of the beast, and God gonna come. The Bible tell them, do not excite yourself about the ending of the world. Live every day as the last. But they use it as a means to coerce individuals, make them frightened. So many videos go for what I hear, they say God will come. They like when cattle break pool. They leave the church and they behaving bad because God will come. Our country is a small country. And we need our people who have the education to help us. You need people who have the education to help us. You know, that's an important factor. Some people went to university and they are chemists. So they must be able to make a contribution in terms of weed. Some people go to university and they are psychologists. A lot of people like psychology. Some history, some are medical doctors, and some are lawyers in different fields. So they have expertise that is important in the industry. So now the government introduced a bill for the first reading, and they expect wide-ranging discussions on those bills. And I'm not satisfied that people making the contribution. And I believe now is the time that the Rastafarian movement perhaps really needs some help, some assistance. Most of the people today who are in the forefront of real Rasta are some of the people who are not highly literate. If a university graduate come around, then you look as a commercial Rasta, not a real Rasta. It's a commercial Rasta. And he may not have a problem with weed consumption because he might smoke a little weed when he meet a Rasta brother. But he's not helping them or encouraging them to pay maximum attention to your children's education and make sure you're going to take vaccine and etc. They're not helping them. Rastafarians are being used. And they have to wake up. They had already a taste of real life. When Maurice Bishop went to woo them to support him, and they did, and they saw the ending. So now the Rastafarian must look at the economic importance of the weed industry. I'm not saying they must not look at the religious significance, of course, and the recreational opportunities. But nothing is wrong in Rasta looking at the economic importance of weed. Nothing is wrong with that. So I do hope some or the other, they wake up and recognize this is not about demonstrating. This is, you have an opportunity. The opportunity is there. Some level of liberalizing the weed industry will take place. And over the next 3, 4, or 5 years, it may be completely liberalized. How can you benefit from it? Could you make money from it? The trade union movement is well poised to take interest in the weed industry because that's a good organization to do the comparability. My brother say almost half of Grenadian youthful population are marijuana smokers. The government has no other choice to decriminalize. However, The ordinary citizens don't have any money to make from growing marijuana. The big countries have greenhouses and millions of acres of land to plant marijuana to manufacture byproducts from marijuana. My brother, I hope and pray that our brothers start understanding that. There seems to be some interest group in Grenada that is asking for the government blanket legalization. I don't know if they're working on behalf of some multinational corporation. I don't know if they have a hidden agenda, or I don't know if they believe by saying that they might get some votes. But I want to plead with them. Now is a good opportunity for us to provide the best bill possible. And it should be done. We have countries that have gone before us: Canada, Jamaica, St. Vincent. Barbados have decriminalized it for medicinal purposes. So Grenada trade union movement should sit down and take all this thing together and lobby the government on their position. I have serious issues with some organizations. The trade union is one of them. Because I know they can access information from any one of the Commonwealth countries, India, Jamaica, anyone. It's not hard. They have sister unions there. They could even get information from England easy. And within the trade union, we have a lot of resource persons. It's we that run the government, the trade union that run the government. So they can get a committee to seriously look at the benefits, the pros and cons, and what is the best option. Government would respect, if the trade union movement do a real work on this, the government would respect it. They would respect it. The Bar Association, I believe they have a moral responsibility to seriously take this bill and hold discussion among themselves and try to come up with the best deal for Grenada. I know the businessman won't bother. Grenada businessman is not a very aggressive business. So they will just wait around and let the chips fall where they may, and then they're going to see if they could make a little money from it. We are not aggressive, so I don't expect much from it. The Catholic Church is not very harsh whether you smoke weed or you don't smoke it. Because somebody will tell you, Paul, you tell Timothy, drink a little wine. Don't drink water, though. Drink a little wine. And Catholics are not against alcohol. They encourage you not to drink it. Woe unto the man who hands his brother in bottle, or drink in moderation. And in the book of Ecclesiasticus, they say it makes a man happy and enjoys it. So they say drink. Once you're not a judge or you're making decision, they don't bother that. And they say don't disturb a man when you see drinking liquor. And they also tell you in the Bible, salvation is not about eating and drinking. You could eat pork, you could drink rum, you could eat turtle, you could eat rats if it's a Chinese. The consumption of food is more associated with culture and the availability of food. So if you have plenty of food, you could cut style and say you only eating soft lamb. But if food is scarce, even the Muslims tell you, don't starve, eat it up and eat it poop. If food scarce, Islam tell you, don't starve. So these organizations are not saying anything. I don't know if they sit down. We have an attitude in Grenada, we like the blame game. My heart goes out to Rasta. I think Rasta in trouble. Rasta main issue I must smoke me weed where I want. And they are not they are not looking at the economic importance of it. But other organizations, particularly those that have the resource personnel, the University of West Indies should be having papers and papers on that, on the benefits of weed, the psychological aspect of weed, the negative of weed. They should have a number of documents. Students in secondary school in Form 5 should be encouraged to do their own little research. Remember, weed must be associated with Marcus Garvey and religion. Rastafari is a religion in the world that advocate, perhaps, I ain't saying them by use it, but they advocate and cry and see most trouble for weed. And we have, and the Rastafarian movement as a religion have a lot to do with self-respect and a sort of Afrocentric back to Africa issue. These days, we don't want to go back to Africa, but everybody pretty Afrocentric. So if weed is being legalized, after Rasta shed their blood, tears, and sweat to legalize it, it is extremely unfortunate that Rasta will make no money from it. One or two bald-head in Grenada might make a little thing because of the legal training, because they might be able to hatch on to some foreigner, but most likely foreign companies is going to come. Now, if you push weed, would people cut down the cocoa and nutmeg and plant weed? These are questions I have to ask. Because you can't tell me what to cut down. It's my land. If you tell me don't cut down the nutmeg tree, I might juke it in the stool and let it die. If you pass a law and say don't cut it down, and you don't have the police to service that, so what would happen? These questions must be asked. Which are the companies that come in? Because I don't see any Grenadian going to go on, Grenadians going to form a company and invest millions of dollars. And if the government legalize it, the government may well want a company come and spend 300 million in Grenada. Because by doing that, you would have a number of people being employed, maybe 200 people being employed. But in a small country, 200 is a significant number. A lot of people underestimate numbers when you're dealing with Grenada. Grenada is not Jamaica. Grenada is not Trinidad. Grenada is not Guyana. Grenada have 100,000 people. What is the strength of your workforce? So if a company provides employment for 20 people, it's a significant number. Sometimes you hear people speaking about unemployment. There's a lot of village you could go now, and you can get somebody that want to work. Want to look for a construction worker, look for a maid, look for somebody to help some older person in the home, look for somebody to pick cocoa with you. When Cocoa Association give you no notice, and you go in the public and you meet guys on the block, they say, Cocoa, Chief, what's wrong with you? You have to be friend with one of them for them to give you a help. They don't necessarily want to work with you because Grenada is a small country. So 200 person being employed is significant. We as a country have to be able to get the assistance and the help. I always say, to whom much is given, much is expected. A lot of Grenadian has been given much. Pope John Paul, I must quote the Pope. He said, don't invest, you shouldn't invest in tertiary education at the expense of primary and secondary education. Some of our most productive, patriotic people in Grenada is from primary and secondary education. Some people believe that when they get university education, they reach, they arrive, and you have to beg them to work. I remember Grace Duncan. I think we had a politician once called Grace Duncan. She from Guava, not certain if Duncan was she. She was the Minister of Health. She was appealing to medical doctors to work 3 hours with it. She said, oh God, I look and get 3 hours work. She begging them. These doctors was principally associated in the medical stations. That is where people need the doctor the most. And they couldn't spend, and she begging them to spend 3 hours a day. Because by the time the clinic, the station, the surgery open 8 o'clock in the morning, some people they since 7 or 7:15 to get a name, because it's only 30 names they take in. Some people send their children to put on their name. The doctor comes in about 11:30, and he see after 30 people, and by 1 o'clock, 1:30, he gone, because he have to go in his office. I'm talking about Grenadian doctors. I'm speaking about medical doctors that get free education from secondary school to university. Grace Duncan appealed to them to work 3 hours. I don't know if the circumstances has changed significantly in terms of these doctors in the medical station. I don't know if they're seen after 31 people know, or if they're stuck on 30. I have no clue. But one thing I know, we must address the issue of those who have had the opportunity to have tertiary education. They must recognize that when government educates you and send you in tertiary education, government wasn't targeting you personally. They was targeting the community. I think the rules have to be rewritten. And government have to say, we are educating you so you could come back and help us change the community. They believe they have done certain great things and government owe them. So I have my education now. I'm not talking to people no more. Anytime I open my mouth, money must come. So they don't speak to the people in the community. They don't interact unnecessarily. You have to come in the office. Because next thing you meet them on the street and you tell them your head hurting you, and they might say, well, take a. So they make sure they limit the opportunity people have to interact with them based upon their profession. I believe that it was not the reason they were trained. They were trained, they were investing with taxpayers' money to come back in the community and change the dynamics. I believe they could express their opinions on weed. If they were, they might have tell a young man, I ain't against you smoking weed, but not 9. You will get mad if you're smoking 9 weed. Because weed slows you down. Rum speeds you up initially. So if you're smoking 9 weed, you're slowing down all the time. But our young men in the community, particularly young men, they smoke weed too regular. And the method by which they consume weed is smoking, inhalation. They inhale this. And if that is not necessarily good for the stomach, and it also facilitates the process of some cancers, then we have to say that. We have to be telling people that. So we need the voices in this country to speak. Our country is a beautiful country. And sometimes I believe we are not making comparisons enough. And I always take the opportunity to make comparisons. I say today, I appeal to people who live in a community, not only Tikolo, any community, River Sally. Look around River Sally and tell yourself 3 things you would like more for the government to do for River Sally. The people from River Sally, look around your country. I know you have not looked around River Sally long. Probably you don't go in Kako long or Mondo. Look around the community. Teach your children the names of the village in River Sally. And try to find out what is it you want the government for you to do. What is it you want the government to do more for you in River Sally? Don't only look at tangibles. Look at intangible things. Tangible is like a playing field, a piece of road, a community center. But you have intangible things too, like education and training. Look around. See if you see bad road in River Sally. A road that is so bad that you need to scream. Watch around River Sally. See if there is more place in River Sally to put road. I say that because I could say that anytime, because Grenada have the best network of roads in the region. And the roads are relatively good. So are practically unchallengeable and unsafe ground. When I tell the people of River Sally, where you want more road? What about the quality of your road? Are you satisfied? And find me 3 things, tangible or intangible, that you want the government do more for you in River Sally. Don't tell me to pass around with a vehicle and give you money. That can't happen. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me to make macaroni more cheap or to make corned beef more cheap. Because of the present environment in the world, we have a serious problem with shipping. So almost all the countries in the Caribbean, some of the prices you will see it raise, particularly for products that don't make in Grenada here. Because in OU, come on. We have to do that. We have to have confidence in ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. Remember, we have to believe in ourselves. That's the truth. And as we are about to leave, then we ask Guave people, why Guave fishermen is not teaching the children to blow shell? Guave is a fishing village. Could you imagine you have a 5-year-old that could blow shell? Could you imagine you could teach your 5-year-old to blow shell? A shell is $5. And Guave is a unique community. So why not teach your 5-year-old to blow shell? We have to have confidence in ourselves. We have to believe. We must believe in ourselves. It's not the size of the country that counts. Because remember, Guyana is almost twice the size of England. And England controls a number of countries in the world. So we could, it's not size, it's mind, it's attitude, it's confidence. Thank you very much.
From many distant lands, our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained.